All right, so today we're diving deep into something pretty heavy, the exploitation of migrant domestic workers,
Yeah.
specifically women in the Middle East.
Mm.
And we've got some YouTube videos and transcripts here. And let me tell you, these stories are just
they're wild.
like captivating, but also disturbing, to say the least.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how these individual stories kind of connect to this larger systemic issue.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's break down this whole Kafala system.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like dystopian novel-ish.
It does, yeah.
It's basically this sponsorship thing in these Gulf countries.
Uh-huh.
Employers have like total control over their workers' visas.
Yes.
And even their legal status.
It's crazy.
So you come to this new country thinking you're going to have this better life.
Right.
And boom, you're trapped.
Exactly. The Kafala system really creates this power imbalance that just leaves workers so vulnerable to exploitation, you know?
Totally.
And low wages, horrible living conditions, long hours, abuse, all too common. And the worst part is they often can't leave their jobs.
Oh, God.
Or even return home.
Wow.
Without their employer's permission.
It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And Mary Juan Yura's story, it just brings this whole thing to life, you know?
Absolutely.
Single mother, 3 kids.
Yeah.
Heads to Saudi Arabia, hoping for a better future for her kids.
Right.
And things just go downhill so fast.
It's a very clear sort of case study, really, in how this Kafala system enables and hides abuse.
It's shocking, yeah.
It's pretty shocking that this is happening in this day and age, you know?
And here's where it gets, like, really crazy. First day on the job, she finds blood-soaked mattresses in her room.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a red flag.
Yes, that's a big one.
Yeah. And then there's this forbidden annex she can't go into.
Uh-oh.
And this mysterious old man keeps appearing.
Oh, no.
And the boss's daughter's saying things like,
oh, my God.
Does she know you killed her?
Wow.
Chilling.
It's like really builds the suspense, right? As she starts putting the pieces together.
Oh, totally.
She stumbled onto something.
Yeah.
It's a secret.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
And then the peak of it all.
Oh, no.
She gets pushed from the 2nd floor by her employer.
Are you serious?
Can you believe it?
Ow.
Seems like they thought she was dead.
Jeez.
Thank goodness a neighbor recorded it.
Oh, wow.
That video went viral. Outrage. Demands for justice.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah. It's a miracle she even survived.
Yeah. And sadly, justice is often elusive.
Right.
You know, she was pressured to withdraw the charges.
Oh, wow.
Return to Kenya in a wheelchair, no compensation.
That's awful.
It's a tragedy.
Just devastating. And the worst part is, it's not an isolated thing.
Right.
This is happening on a huge scale. This documentary, Secret Slaves of the Middle East.
Oh, yeah.
It reveals just how predatory
it does.
the recruiting process is. Like, they go into villages.
Oh, wow.
They promise women these great jobs in hotels, restaurants.
Right.
But it's all a lie. They're actually being recruited.
It's a lie.
For domestic servitude.
They prey on the hopes of these women who, I mean, often they're driven by poverty, you know, they want to provide for their families.
Yeah.
It's cruel, really.
Yeah. And they even have these so-called, like, training centers that focus on, like, obedience and subservience.
Oh, wow.
It's like they're trying to erase their personalities.
Yeah.
You know, make them more likely to just accept this abuse.
Wow. It's truly dehumanizing. They're treated like commodities bought and sold for profit.
It's sickening to think that employers are paying up to $5,000 for a Filipino worker.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. And it just shows you, like, the economic incentives behind this.
Yeah, the economic incentive.
Where do we even go from here?
Well, that's where the lack of government support becomes even more concerning. It's like these workers are they're abandoned by their own countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought, right? The lack of support from governments. It's a real recurring theme in a lot of these cases. Like, even when Mary's situation, you know, got all that international attention, the Kenyan embassy, their response was delayed, ineffective.
It's almost like they're turning a blind eye, you know?
It is, yes.
And what about, like, the governments of the countries where this is actually happening?
Right.
What are they doing about it?
Well, you know, like, the Lebanese government, for example, they've been so slow to abolish the Kafala system. even though they know it's flawed.
It's disheartening. Yeah. Like there's no urgency.
What it is, yeah, it's real.
When it comes to these people's lives.
It makes you wonder about their commitment, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they talk about these workers as heroes, right?
Right.
Contributing to their economies and all that.
Uh-huh.
But their actions don't really match up, do they?
Yeah. There's a disconnect there. It's hypocritical.
It is, yeah.
The Philippine government, they celebrate these OFWs, right?
Yeah.
Overseas Filipino workers,
Yeah.
like national heroes.
Right.
But then they offer very limited assistance
Yeah.
when they're facing this exploitation abroad.
It's just so disheartening, you know. It feels like these women are trapped in this
It is.
web of exploitation.
Yeah.
And there's just no way out.
It's a tough situation.
And it makes you wonder, like, why is it mostly women?
Yeah.
Are there, like, deeper societal
Right.
things at play here?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a crucial question.
Yeah.
It's multifaceted. I mean, traditional gender roles and expectations, particularly in the Middle East. Mm-hmm.
They often just relegate women
Right.
to this domestic work,
Right.
making them much more susceptible to this kind of exploitation.
Yeah, it's like those societal norms kind of create this framework
Right.
where this kind of exploitation can just thrive.
Yeah, they're seen as, you know, more vulnerable,
Yeah.
less likely to resist or speak out, you know.
It's like their voices are silenced
It is, yeah.
just because they're women
Yeah.
and because of where they come from.
It's a reflection of, you know, the inequalities
Yeah.
that still exist in the world.
It's tragic.
It is.
And we can't forget about the economics of it all, you know.
Right.
Many of these women are coming from, you know, developing countries
Uh-huh.
where they're desperate to escape poverty.
Yes.
They want to provide for their families.
Absolutely.
And that desperation makes them more likely to, you know,
Right.
take these jobs with the terrible wages and
Yeah.
awful condition.
And no legal protection.
It's a vicious cycle, right?
It is, yeah. It's like poverty pushes them
Yeah.
into these vulnerable situations.
Yeah.
And then those situations
Yeah.
perpetuate the poverty.
It's a global crisis.
It is, yeah. This
Yeah.
demands our attention.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue, you know.
Yeah.
There's no easy solutions.
Right.
But the first step to change, I think, is acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Understanding the root causes.
Right.
And challenging those systems that perpetuate this.
Okay, so where do we even begin with that?
Yeah.
Like, what are the concrete steps
Right.
to address this? Is there even hope for change?
There's always hope.
Okay.
I think, you know, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But one of the most crucial steps systemically is to get rid of this Kafala system.
Yeah.
It's inherently flawed.
Like, it's the foundation of this whole
Yeah.
structure of exploitation.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
removing it would be huge.
It would be huge. Yeah, like Qatar, for example, they've
Right.
taken some steps to, you know, reform it, dismantle it,
Oh, wow.
but there's still a long way to go.
Mhm.
And it's not just about abolishing it, right?
Right.
It's about replacing it with something that actually protects workers' rights.
Okay, so what would that look like? What kind of changes do we need?
We need, you know, strong labor laws
Okay.
that guarantee fair wages, reasonable hours, safe living conditions,
Yeah.
and crucially, access to legal help, you
Right.
know, if there's abuse.
Yeah, it's basic rights.
That is, yeah.
That everyone deserves.
Absolutely, no matter where you're from
Right.
or what kind of work you do. It's about recognizing their dignity, their value
Exactly.
as human beings.
And they need that freedom
Yes.
to, like, change employers
Yes.
without this fear of, like, losing their legal status.
Absolutely.
Facing retaliation.
Yeah, empowering them, giving them a voice.
Yeah, it's about shifting that power dynamic, right?
It is, yeah.
Making sure employers are held accountable.
Yes.
And that workers have some way to protect themselves.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head there.
And we can't forget those recruiters, right?
No.
They're the ones luring these women into these situations with these false promises.
Yes, absolutely.
They're the gatekeepers, right?
They are, yeah.
They control access to these opportunities that turn out to be traps.
Yeah.
How do we stop them?
We need stricter regulations on these agencies.
Okay.
Harsher penalties for, you know,
Right.
those engaging in unethical practices.
So it's about making it harder for them
It is.
to operate in the shadows.
Yes.
To exploit people.
Absolutely. And this is where governments are crucial.
Yeah.
They have this fundamental responsibility to protect their citizens.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that their duty of care doesn't just stop at their borders,
Absolutely. It goes beyond that.
Their citizens deserve protection even when they're working abroad.
Yeah, governments need to do more to monitor the situation.
Okay.
Provide adequate pre-departure training, offer support services in those countries, and most importantly, actively intervene when there's abuse happening.
It's about taking those concrete actions to prevent it, to offer support, and to hold those responsible accountable.
Absolutely.
But this isn't just a job for individual governments.
No, not at all. It's a global issue.
Yeah.
We need a coordinated global response.
Okay.
Governments need to collaborate, share information,
put
pressure on these destination countries to improve their labor standards and, protect these workers' rights.
So there's a shared responsibility.
It is, yeah.
No single country can solve this on its own.
Absolutely. We need international cooperation.
Yeah.
A commitment to justice.
And what about, the role of civil society in all of this?
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. NGOs, activist groups, they're doing amazing work.
They're on the front lines.
Yeah.
They see this exploitation firsthand.
Yeah.
They're the ones fighting for change.
They are, yeah.
How can we support them?
We can support them through donations, volunteering, or even just spreading the word about the work they do.
Yeah, amplifying their voices.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Contributing to their efforts.
Right.
Because we're not powerless in this.
No, not at all.
We can all do something.
We can all make a difference.
Or make the world a little more just.
Yeah. Yeah, even small actions. When they're multiplied, they can have a huge impact.
I think you're right. And it's not just about supporting organizations, right?
Yeah.
It's about, talking about these issues.
Absolutely.
Challenging our own biases.
Yes.
And educating ourselves and others about this,
It's about raising awareness, sparking that dialogue.
Yeah, creating a ripple effect.
Yes, absolutely.
That can lead to real change.
That's right.
And it's also about, being conscious consumers.
Right, it is. Yeah.
Paying attention to where our stuff comes from.
Right. Yeah.
Working conditions. Yeah. Making ethical choices.
Yeah, it's about understanding that our choices have consequences.
Yeah.
Our decisions as consumers, they have this ripple effect.
Right.
They impact people all over the world.
It's about understanding how connected we all are.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
And that this injustice, anywhere, it affects us all.
It does, yeah.
And that awareness, it brings responsibility.
It does.
To make different choices.
Absolutely.
So as we kind of go deeper into this, I think the role of gender in all this, it can't be ignored.
It can't.
Women are disproportionately affected.
Yes.
And understanding why, that's key.
Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah.
We've touched upon how, these traditional gender roles often just confine women to domestic work, both in their home countries and abroad, which makes them, more susceptible.
And then there's that whole, stereotype that women are, more submissive, docile, better suited for caregiving roles.
Right.
That's the thinking that makes them easier to exploit.
Yes, and those stereotypes are often, made worse by cultural and racial biases.
Yeah.
Migrant women from developing countries, they're often seen as, cheap labor, expendable, less deserving of basic rights.
It's heartbreaking, their humanity is...
It is,
just diminished.
It's dehumanizing, and it fuels this cycle of exploitation.
Right.
And it's connected to, the economic factors we talked about.
Yeah.
Many of these women are fleeing poverty. They're desperate for any opportunity.
So they're trapped in a system that preys on their vulnerability.
Absolutely.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
It needs to be broken.
It does, yeah. Breaking this cycle requires a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
Dismantling the systems, challenging those societal norms and biases, empowering women, creating economic opportunities that don't rely on exploitation.
It's a daunting task.
It is.
We've delved pretty deep into the darkness here. Exposed these harsh realities of this global crisis.
It's a tough one.
But is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
Any reason for hope? Yeah. It's been heavy.
It has.
But even with all these challenges, I think there's got to be some hope, right?
I agree. Yeah, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by how big this problem is, but we've also seen some amazing resilience and efforts toward change.
Yeah, those little victories, those steps towards a better future.
Right.
That's what we got to focus on.
Right. Rightly.
Like Qatar reforming the Kafala system. Or organizations like This is Lebanon giving refuge to these workers who are being exploited.
Absolutely. It shows that change is possible.
It does, yeah.
It's a process. It's a journey.
Yeah.
Each step is worth celebrating.
Yeah. It's about acknowledging those wins.
Right.
And still pushing for more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, as we've been going through these sources, what really strikes me is the courage of these women. They're not just victims. They're survivors.
They are,
They're fighting for a better life.
Their stories are they're testaments to the human spirit. Like, even when facing these unimaginable hardships, they find ways to resist, to support each other, and to fight for a better future.
Like Mary Wanjiru speaking out.
Yes.
Even with all that pressure.
Right.
Stay silent.
Yeah.
That's bravery.
It's an act of defiance, refusing to be silenced. And it's through those acts of courage that we can start to chip away at these systems of injustice.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it really comes down to a fundamental question. What kind of world do we want to live in?
It is.
One where people are exploited for profit.
Yeah.
Or one where everyone has a chance at a life of dignity and respect.
That's the heart of it. It's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
And it's not just about these workers, right? It's about us.
It is, yeah.
As consumers, as global citizens.
Our demand for, cheap goods. Cheap services. Often that's what fuels these systems.
It's an uncomfortable truth.
It is.
But we can't ignore it. Right.
We can't.
It makes us look at our own role in this.
Yeah.
How our choices contribute to the problem.
We're all connected. Injustice anywhere affects us all.
And with that awareness comes responsibility.
It does.
To make different choices.
To support businesses with ethical practices.
Yeah.
To advocate for, stronger regulation to hold our governments accountable.
It's about going from apathy to action.
It is, yeah.
From feeling helpless to becoming part of the solution.
Absolutely.
And these stories, they're a call to action, right?
They are.
They remind us that we can all do something to make a difference.
Absolutely.
So to our listener, we leave you with this.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with this information?
Right.
Will it spark a fire in you?
Yeah.
A determination to make a difference?
That choice is yours.
These aren't just statistics or headlines.
Yeah.
These are real people.
They are,
with real struggles.
Real hopes.
Real hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Let them inspire you
to
take action.
Take action.
To be part of the solution.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope it gave you a lot to think about.
We hope so.